There is nothing like recording at 12:38 in the morning, so let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome to or back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. In today's video, I want to open up and talk about something that I've been kind of hiding for a long time. Something that I don't really want to talk about, and I do have a few disclaimers for this video. That being that I just want to put a trigger warning here that I do talk about sensitive topics like depression, anxiety, things like that, so if any of that triggers you, please click off of this video. But yeah, I am also going to have a hotline down in the description down below if anyone needs that, so I just want to have that information there in case it is needed. But I just want to give you the access to those resources and things like that. Also, before we get too deep into any of these topics, I am not a mental health professional, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist. I'm just telling you the information that I have learned over time with my own research and talking to other people, and I'm just going to tell you that. So the reason that I wanted to make this video is that I'm hoping that I can maybe find a community out there who understands and that can relate to this. I also want to make this so that people feel less alone, because I feel like dermatillomania is something that is just not talked about a lot. Like, even when I look up on YouTube, like, there's like a handful of videos, and a lot of those videos don't go into the mass detail of how it affects your life. I also wanted to make this video just because dermatillomania is also a very misunderstood disorder. It's something that is shamed upon a lot of people, or like frowned upon, and it gets a bad rep, and it's just because people aren't as educated about it. So if I could raise awareness and educate other people, I'm hoping that it can just help people feel less alone, get that information out there, and help people get the treatments that they need. I am starting to grow this platform, and I want to be honest with you guys. I don't want to put up a facade that my life is perfect and that everything's okay and that I don't have any issues. I mean, obviously everybody has issues. We're all human. All of us have problems. It's just that there's just certain problems that I haven't really surfaced on the internet and talked about, and it's something I'm really insecure about, and it's not necessarily something that I want to talk about in front of thousands of people, but here I am. I just feel like it's time for me to be honest. I don't want to hide it anymore. It's something I've been super insecure about and would hide in my YouTube videos and things like that. I'm done doing that. I'm ready to talk about it, and I'm hoping that it reaches the right people in the right community. My last disclaimer is that I am a little nervous. Obviously, this is not something I want to record. Like I said, my thoughts are kind of all over the place. One, because I have ADHD, and two, like I said, I'm nervous, and it's just a lot to talk about, a lot of information, so I'm sorry if I'm kind of jumping all over the place. I tried to keep this video somewhat organized, so we'll see how that goes, but bear with me and thank you. Okay, so let's get into it. What is dermatillomania? Dermatillomania is a skin picking disorder. It's a psychological condition that causes the individual to not be able to stop picking at their own skin. This is a continuous behavior that can be compulsive or obsessive, and it is in the same group as BFRB, which is basically a body-focused repetitive behavior. So the thing that makes this disorder so vastly different from your normal skin picking, like such as pimples or picking at scabs or little imperfections on the skin, is basically my inability to stop picking at my own skin until the point that it reaches tissue damage, it leaves scars, I'm bleeding, there's discoloration, my skin is sensitive and sore and painful. This isn't just like your average like wanting to pick your hangnail on your finger. It's an obsessive behavior that sometimes for me lasts hours and hours, and I cannot stop. Once I start, I have to finish. Basically, I'm going to read some like fun facts, and then after that I will get into my experience with dermatillomania, but I just kind of want to put that information out there just to educate people just a little bit more. So the first fact is that 2 to 5% of the population who have dermatillomania pick their skin to the point of tissue damage or bleeding and stuff like that I mentioned earlier, or just causes some sort of uneasiness or affects their quality of life. 75% of the population that is affected is also female. The disorder is treatable, therapy is recommended, and usually treatment for depression and anxiety and other things like that are usually recommended at the same time of the treatment for dermatillomania. For me personally, I have recently started therapy, and it's a new area in my life. Like, it's a little out of my comfort zone. I knew that therapy would be beneficial for me in my life, but it's something really fresh and new that I'm still figuring everything out. Dermatillomania is something that I'm definitely going to work through in therapy, and I hope to reduce or completely stop with the skin picking. But dermatillomania is usually associated with being anxious, so a lot of people will assume that you're just anxious when you're skin picking, and in some cases that's a genuine reason, but that's not the case for everybody. For me personally, anxiety definitely makes the dermatillomania worse, but it's not necessarily my main trigger. But yeah, for me, it's kind of like a mixture of things. It can be triggered by OCD, it can be triggered by ADHD, it could be triggered by anxiety, stress, all of those things, like boredom even. The thing that I think that people don't understand is that it is associated with a feeling of like satisfaction and comfort while you're doing this. There's also a huge release of dopamine as well, and for my ADHD people who may experience this, like that may be a trigger and may make it worse. So because of those factors, it makes it extremely hard to stop picking once you've started the episode. For me, sometimes OCD triggers it. I'll feel like a small perfection on the skin and I'll want to pick at it even though it's so small and like no one's gonna notice it, but I'm noticing it, and it's driving me insane and making me feel claustrophobic if I don't get it off. And just because of that little flake, I need to make the whole surface smooth, so I have this impulse to just start picking. This also takes a toll on your loved ones who have to experience this with you and who are seeing you do this to your own skin and want to stop you out of love, but in doing so can sometimes cause shameful or guilt feelings to come up. And when I noticed that someone noticed I was picking, I immediately feel so much shame. I feel guilt. I'm embarrassed. I think that they think I'm just disgusting and that I don't have the amount of self-control that someone should have to actually stop. And in some cases, it's been bad enough where I need to step out of the room and I need to go to a different room to finish what I have started, and I hide it because I am ashamed and I can't stop. But I need to finish what I have started, and I don't want to do that around those people. So this can cause a lot of self-body disimage, it can cause self-esteem issues, it can cause depression because of the skin picking, and I have dealt with all of those things, and it makes it really hard. Like, there's been times where I didn't want to record a video because my lips were so ripped up and I'm so embarrassed that I can't be on camera, and I have to wait a few days and try to hold myself back to not pick my lips so I can record a YouTube video. Or there's been YouTube videos I've completely scratched out because I'm just embarrassed that you can see it. And for me, my picking is primarily focused on my lips, but I do sometimes like pick at pimples and scabs and it goes too far, and I am going to put some pictures on here, so if you don't want to see that, please click off of this video. But there was a time where I had this mark on my face and I kept picking it for over a month before it finally healed, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and would not go away. Primarily it is on my lips. After I pick, my lips will start to heal, and a few days later I'll feel that dry patch and it's uneven. My OCD is bothered. Like, in more anxious situations is when I feel the most comfort doing that, so that I don't have to deal with what my brain is handling at the time. Like, that's the way I cope, even though that's not a good way to cope. Even though my body's trying to heal my lips, I literally cannot even allow my lips to heal. I just have to rip off that patch that's literally trying to heal my lip. And it sucks so much because I don't even realize I'm doing it sometimes. If I did realize that I am doing it, sometimes it feels like 5 minutes I'm picking, and I look at the clock later and it's been hours. There was this time I was at the movie theater, and throughout the whole entire movie I was just picking at my lips, and I didn't even realize until the end of the movie that I'd been picking the entire time. It's just so hard to deal with every day, and it affects my mental health in so many levels because I will self-isolate when my lips are all ripped up because I don't want people to see it. I try to hide it in my videos. I have depression in general, but it adds more depression because I'm insecure of myself, I'm shameful of myself, and I'm not trying to ask for anybody's sympathy. I'm just explaining my journey, and this is definitely something I'm gonna work out in therapy. But yeah, it's not easy, and I just want to talk about it because I want other people to talk about it, because I feel like we need to talk about this more, and I feel like we should normalize normalize this mental illness as much as we normalize talking about depression and anxiety, because there's a lot more people out there who are struggling with this kind of stuff and they don't feel like they can come out and talk about it or have someone to relate to. There was this YouTuber that I watched, and I've watched her for years, and she came out with a video talking about her experience with dermatillomania, and that really inspired me to talk about my dermatillomania. It made me feel less alone. It made me feel understood and not shamed and not judged, and it made me feel like I need to do that. I need to spread that message on, and I need to talk about it. And I'm so glad that I did, and I'm so glad I saw that video because it really impacted my life. Another fun fact is that 66% of the population that deals with dermatillomania has reported depression from the disorder itself, and 86% of those people also have anxiety. I happen to fit into all of those groups that I've mentioned. And yeah, yay me. But it also can be associated with lack of sleep just because you're picking for hours on end. And I do struggle with that aspect a little bit, and it sucks. I'm not gonna lie, it really sucks. Another myth is that dermatillomania is self-harm. Yes, in doing so, like the action of picking my skin, it is harming my body, but it is not a form of self-harm. It's actually a disorder, and for the longest time, I didn't even know this disorder existed. I always just felt like the weird girl who just picked at her lips. Like, I felt like I was the only one going through this. Like, I didn't know that this was a legitimate psychological thing and that it usually is associated with some sort of mental illness. And once I found out about that, it released so much pressure off of my chest. Finally, this thing I had been experiencing for years, ever since I was a kid to a teenager to an adult, this disorder, this problem, this thing I've been dealing with has a name, and it gave me this closure. And now doing all this research and learning about it has pushed me to get the help that I need, and I'm so grateful for that. And I really hope that if you're watching this, that you get the opportunity to do that as well. But yeah, I feel so much better actually talking about this. Like, it just has relieved so much pressure and so much anxiety and shame and guilt. And I feel like now that I've put it on the internet, like, now everyone knows, and I've explained my story, my journey, I just feel so much better now that I have an explanation. So when I'm having these picking episodes, it becomes like this tug-of-war of like, oh, I shouldn't do this, like, look what I'm doing to my skin, like, I am bleeding, I'm like causing damage to my lips, and I'm going to be embarrassed about this later. And then back to, but I need that dopamine rush and that hyperfixation, and it just overpowers that and just makes it so strong that I can't, like, even though I want to stop, and I'm literally telling myself, stop, you're literally hurting your lips, you're damaging your skin, like, you are bleeding, you should stop, like, other people don't do this. Like, I just have this guilt and shame of like, what is wrong with me that I cannot stop? Like, I cannot hold myself back. I don't have the self-control, and it makes me feel really ashamed and like down on myself. And I don't want other people to feel like that who are also going through that, and I shouldn't beat myself up about that either. But it's hard. It's a process that I need to work through, and I need to accept that this is a disorder that I'm dealing with, and that it takes patience and it takes time to work on this. And it doesn't mean that I'm this horrible, gross person. It just means that I'm struggling and I need to work through that. So this video is kind of getting long, so I'm going to cut it here, but thank you for watching this video this far. If you made it this far, I love you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to me. Like I said in the beginning of the video, this is not something easy to record. This is not something I just want to post on my channel, because I usually post more lighthearted and uplifting videos, but sometimes on my channel I do like to talk about these mental health topics, and I like to bring awareness. I love to talk about mental health because it's something that I've struggled with in my life, my entire life, and if I can help somebody out there, that is the goal. That is the reason I'm doing this kind of stuff. And it's also therapeutic for me to talk to a camera about it and just kind of vent about it, even though that's probably what I should be doing to a therapist, but you know what I mean. I am still fresh on this journey. I am still learning, so please have patience with me. And if you have any questions and you want me to talk about this again, leave them down below in the comment section, and I'll either reply or make another video talking about this. Just be kind and patient and gentle, because this is something very personal, very vulnerable, and something I'm very insecure about. So please be nice, please be kind. Thank you. And thank you to anyone who is supporting me along this journey with me. Don't forget to to give this video a big thumbs up and also click that red button down below to join the family and subscribe if you want to, but I would appreciate it. If you want to support me further, check out my socials down below. Also check out my Patreon to help me with things like getting better YouTube equipment or saving up for an apartment or a house. But anyways, thank you to my Patreons for always supporting me. I love you guys. You guys make my dream of making content and videos, my job, a reality. So thank you to you guys, and thank you to my subscribers as well. I love you guys, but I'm gonna shut up now, so I love you guys and bye!